the day going for the Hail Mary. Brady wouldn't finish the game. Brian Hoyer would have to come in to make matters worse. Julian Edelman left with an injury. Pow, 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 pow. We won the game. Titans blow out New England 34-10. Here's Tom Brady after the loss.
In the NFL, it's hard to win. You can't expect just to show up and win. That doesn't give the other team enough credit. And today we just played a bad game. And you see what happens. And hopefully there's more urgency as we go forward. And our whole season's ahead of us. And we'll see what we do with it.
Yeah, it's a real sweet win. Especially when you used to be there and they didn't want to bring you back. So definitely real sweet. I'm happy my teammates came out and played, and I love these guys.
So it is a little personal.
Hell yeah, it's personal. That's what happens when you go cheap. You get your ass kicked.
All right, see, what did last night's loss tell you about the Patriots?
Well, first, Deion's right. Bill Belichick, he does like to go out, but it's going to be a cheap date. I mean, he's not independent. We see what he does for Tom Brady, so I don't know why these other guys, why they would be offended. You go there, boost your career, then you got to go somewhere else to be able to get the money. But I'm not that surprised by the loss yesterday, and the reason why, and for a number of years, the Tennessee Titans have been a very, very physical football team. I thought Mike Vrabel, the assignment that he got when Tennessee was one of the better coaching for the new coaches taking over last year. They were a playoff team. They are very, very physical. And I thought that his style, absent of Andrew Luck coming back and us knowing if he was going to be healthy, with Frank Wright taking over the Colts, I thought this was the best match as far as personality, the type of players, and how they would move forward. Not only that they were a playoff team, so I think Vrabel's done a tremendous job of transitioning. Marcus Mariota had his best game as far as balance, finally got some feeling back in his arm and his hand, which he injured in the first game of the season against the Dolphins. So this was a good football game because they had every opportunity. Tennessee, we played good. Here come the Pats. No, when the Pats answered, Tennessee came right back. And you have to give Matt LaFleur, the offensive coordinator, a lot of people don't know about him. He's very, very creative. If he had the type of talent that Sean McVay, you'd be hearing about his name more often. But you can see when the game was tight, look at the type of plays that they called. Man, Mariota, they used him as a receiver, threw a pass to him in a critical point in the game. So that's what I saw with the Tennessee Titans. I think they're an underrated football team, and you could see what they did to Dallas. What Dallas did last night to Philadelphia, look what Tennessee, this week against New England, last week against Dallas. It's hard to be a good football team and be the midway point in the season and play 8 good quarters the way the Titans have and not be a good team.
Here's the concern for the Patriots, because this one did surprise me, because they were on a roll. The Titans, I thought, might still be a little happy from what happened this past week, and the one less week to prepare for the Patriots mattered to me, that they had a Monday game and the Patriots obviously didn't. The Pats have been a very bad road team this year.
Yes.
They have now 3 double-digit road losses. That's more than any other year in the entirety of the year in Belichick's entire tenure.
What do you attribute that to?
Well, before I do that, I just want to make sure the audience knows what those are, because even their wins, they haven't been very impressive on the road. They got blown out by Jacksonville on the road. Jacksonville's not any good. They got blown out by Detroit on the road. Detroit's a mediocre at best football team. Chicago, what did they need? Two special teams touchdowns to win that game. Buffalo, that offense was non-existent in that game. They needed a pick 6 to salt it away and to be playing Nate Peterman, Derek Anderson. I don't even remember who the hell was playing quarterback for them, but it was bad for Buffalo. And then this week at Tennessee. So what do I attribute it to? That right now this is a team that I think is playing over its talent level at home. And on the road, we say this in the NBA, you say this in the NBA a lot, that role players play one way at home, one way on the road. I don't know how much that translates to the NFL.
They need the crowd. They need the momentum. And it's just easier for them on the road. Less distractions. Yes, and their talent. That's what it seems like. Their talent is not stretched as much as we've seen once they go on the road.
I can't remember a time, and I understand Tennessee came into the game with the #1 scoring defense, and they're going to leave the game with the #1 scoring defense, holding the Pats 10 points. We got to start recognizing the best defense in football might still be in the AFC South. It just might not. It just doesn't belong to the Jacksonville Jaguars. But in the second half, here's the Pats drive chart. 3 plays, punt. 8 plays, punt. 5 plays, punt. 7 plays in turnover on downs. 3 plays, punt. Like, I'm not used to seeing that from the New England Patriots now. The entire second half where you're shut out, you don't even attempt a field goal. You have 3 punts and 1 turnover on downs. That's brutal.
At what point do we start pointing to the personnel that maybe Dion Lewis had a point? Maybe they did go cheap and they felt like it's always a next man up mentality. And you know what? You don't have Rob Gronkowski. You don't have any tall receivers. You don't have any one guy that Tom Brady loves to throw to, his go-to guy. He tried to make it Josh Gordon, but he just was falling through a couple times. At what point do we really blame it on the personnel?
Well, Jenna, this is the thing. New England, we can't blame it on the personnel because they've always done it, except for the 2007 season, with less than personnel. This is one of the things we always give them credit for. The problem is now they're starting to get injuries that they can't recover from. That offensive line don't look as good as they looked during the regular season. Now, this is what we thought this offensive line would look like. We thought they would have problems built, but we thought Gronk would be there. So they would be able to run the ball to be able to slow up that offensive line. Edelman, without some help, without Gronk, he's a different guy. And he's a different guy home in a way because he rides the wave of that crowd and the emotion. So these are the things that I see that are very, very different. And Tom Brady, listen, all that talent around him, lack of talent around him, we normally give him and Belichick credit.
Yeah.
Now you can start to see Tom Brady looking pretty average without the speed on the outside of Cooks and other players.
Edelman was the only guy yesterday prior to the injury he had a real connection with. Edelman had 9 catches for 104. But what the 2 numbers jump out to me on the stat sheet, aside from Brady's 70 passer rating, which, considering he didn't throw a pick, that's brutal. Usually you have passer rating like that, it's because the interceptions are drawing you down. But one number is 12 targets, but only 4 catches for Josh Gordon.
Josh Gordon, yep.
Trying to get Josh Gordon more and more involved and couldn't connect there. And then 19 carries for 40 yards. When the Pats offense this year has been explosive, it has been well-balanced, tilted towards the running game. Yesterday, the Titans front, credit to them, shut down Sony Michel, made Cordarrelle Patterson look like a guy playing out of position, and the Pats had no counterpunch. They had no counterpunch. Brady was not particularly sharp. He wasn't with all his weapons, and it showed. That's it. And when I bring up the road stuff, you know why it matters? At 6-3, Pats might be playing a few more road playoff games than we're used to seeing from them.
And that's where, if you want the Pats and you want to beat them in the playoffs, you got to get them on the road.
Right.
You got to get them on the road. And we just haven't seen them have to go on the road, especially in that divisional round. Man, if they go in as the 3rd or 4th seed, woo, that's they have never done that and gotten to the Super Bowl.
Uncharted waters for the Patriots. All right, got time now for Put a Grade on It, sponsored by CarMax. Tom Brady had a rough one, as we mentioned, throwing for 254 yards, no touchdowns. He's only had 1 combined in the last 3 games. CC, put a grade on Tom Brady's day.
I got to give him a D.
Ooh.
You did not get the chemistry that him and Josh Gordon you thought you would get. Nick mentioned it earlier.
Yeah.
If you're going to target a guy 12 times, man, just out of sync. Josh missed a couple, fell down 1. Brady was off a little bit, so I'm going to give Brady a D. I'm sure he would give himself at least a D.
I would also give him a D, and Jenna, you mentioned it. In the last 3 games, Tom Brady's played what I would consider one great quarter, that 4th quarter against the Packers. Aside from that, he stopped turning the ball over, but maybe in an effort to stop turning the ball over, he stopped making big plays. The only touchdown they have passing the last 3 games is that one to Josh Gordon that won the Packers game. So no touchdowns the previous game, no touchdowns the 3 quarters against Green Bay, and no passing touchdowns yesterday against Tennessee. It's a D, and more importantly,